Hey everyone, Daniel here with Slow Haste, where we talk about synths, electronic music, and the creative process. In today's video, we're focusing on that last bit, the creative process. A big part of the creative process for most disciplines is the process of writing. Depending on your craft, that could literally mean writing words, writing a song, developing the framework for an idea in your head. And personally, I view writing as the conception point of an idea, the sort of base from which all of the other components of an idea bloom out from. For my music, that could be like the first melody or the first part of a beat that I'm making. It's always the hardest to get that first part out. But once I have that base structure, that foundation for a song, the rest of the writing process for me just kind of becomes a series of decisions that I have to make creatively. But yeah, for me, writing that first part can really be a hurdle, especially if your brain doesn't feel totally engaged in the process. It can be hard to take that first step. So I wanted to take some time to share some of my frequently used tips to kind of break myself out of what can become a really frustrating part of the creative process. I'll give you a few general ideas and some more specific ideas on how you can kind of break yourself out of that creative rut if that happens to you. So keep in mind that most of these tips involve breaking away from your creative environment and not necessarily trying to push through the writer's block, although that is a viable method. But we're going to focus on things outside of the studio today, so let's get right into it. Number 1, go outside. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Go outside, sit and observe, take yourself on a walk, try to get lost somewhere new. I recently relocated to a relatively rural place, and I found comfort in immersing myself in nature as I'm able to. There are countless pretty mild walking and hiking trails through the woods that are really easily accessible to me. And conversely, when I lived in Chicago, one of my favorite things to do was to walk around the city, especially like after a snowstorm or in the light drizzle with my dog. Really relaxing. A central theme in a lot of my music happens to be physical geography. I think physical space can really inform the context of emotion. A great example of this is the sort of nostalgic feeling of the season of autumn. You know, the beginning of seasonal cold weather just always gives me this really specific certain feeling that I'll never really be able to explain. I know this isn't a perspective unique to me, and I really urge you to lean into that feeling in the context of your creations with atmosphere and emotion. This can especially be helpful if your craft involves any sort of technology. Mine certainly does. It pretty much revolves around it, in fact. Anyways, I think getting outside is one of the best ways to practice truly stepping away from whatever creative struggle you might be having, turning it off, and just giving your mind a break in general. Number 2. Drink a hot beverage. This one is actually a daily practice of mine, and I'm sure a lot of you are also regular caffeine consumers. Over the years, I've found more so than any other substance, caffeine is the thing that inspires creativity the most. Coffee, particularly for me, can inspire waves of new concepts, specifically those seedlings from which branches of ideas can grow, as I mentioned earlier. I also find that I tend to enjoy listening to new music the most when I'm caffeinated. For some reason, my brain just works better to interpret the emotions of others' creative output and assign personal meaning to it. Maybe that's just because it's working in overdrive. That said, it wouldn't be accurate to say that coffee or tea is some sort of magical device to come up with new creative content. It helps to get the figurative and literal juices flowing, but it is still up to the caffeine consumer to actually solidify those ideas into something tangible and not just get lost in thought. Even giving yourself a 5 to 10 minute break to heat water for a cup of tea can be the respite that your mind needs to sort of reset and get back to a productive state, on top of any effects that the drink itself might have on you. Number 3, learn something new about your craft, and specifically approach your writing from that new perspective. Even the most seasoned creators have plenty to learn. Maybe the thing you need to get yourself back on track is just a little bit of discomfort. Perhaps there's a new method you've been putting off learning, or some piece of theory or application to your craft that you've really been wanting to get to know more about. It's important to dedicate time into improving your skills as you continue to do what you love. A lot of the time, new methods can reframe the context in which you create. It can teach you a new starting point, or a new end goal to bring some of the concepts you've already been working with or are comfortable with. This is one reason I like synth hardware so much. Even though a lot of the general concepts are the same, these different devices all have many different means of getting you to your end product. And because of the confinements you're required to work within on each different device, your end result can vary drastically. I actually made a video this summer where I took a set of samples and created a short beat on 2 different devices, the Electron Digitact and the Teenage Engineering OP1. They're both hardware samplers, but they have drastically different workflows. Both of the beats I created in that video are pretty different from one another, even though they were created in the same afternoon with the exact same set of sounds. So yeah, break away from your typical methods and learn something new about your craft. Number 4, learn a new skill. This is something that has helped me immensely. And I learned this about myself pretty recently, actually. For a big part of 2020, as I'm sure might be the case with a lot of you, I just wasn't really feeling super creative. I wasn't putting a lot of time into my music. And yeah, there were a lot of other things to be preoccupied with that year, but I think aside from that, generally I was just kind of in a creative rut. Sometime toward the end of the year, I actually started to get really into cooking. I've always enjoyed cooking, but for some reason I caught the bug to learn a bit more about how I could be intentional, learning specific skills, and learning about the why between specific steps in different recipes. I actually attribute this to finding some folks on YouTube that helped me understand why and how these components can be important. And I think it made me more engaged and excited about planning meals and trying new recipes. Almost exactly around the same time that this happened, I realized that I kind of got creative juices flowing again in the context of my music. I'm not sure if this was totally a coincidence, but I have an inkling that as my mind was kind of becoming more engaged in different thought processes with other topics, it kind of just picked up momentum and wanted to keep doing things. My creative demeanor clicked back into place and I started making a lot more music again. So yeah, I guess that's all to say that engaging your mind in other facets of your life can help to sort of get the ball rolling and give you that mental inertia that you need. Number 5, consume other art and media. Listen to your favorite album, watch a few episodes of your favorite TV show. Think really critically about it. What do you like about it? Why do you get gratification from repeated watches or listens? And maybe most importantly, why does it matter to you in the first place? The point of this is to kind of get back to the roots of why you're creating in the first place. I think that watching or listening to other people do something that they're passionate about, regardless of if you're even interested in that topic, can help to sort of inspire you. So yeah, I know that's a really quick point, but just consume other art that you love. Again, it's all about sort of resetting your perspective and engaging your mind in the context that might help you with your creativity. And number 6, make a video about methods to overcoming writer's block. So yeah, those are just a few of my frequently used methods to overcome my writer's block when I have tough moments. And it happens frequently. Sometimes I'll be at work and I'll get an idea and I'll get really excited about it, and then I'll come home and my brain just wants to shut off and I don't want to think about making music. And that's okay. I just try to remember that it's important to engage myself in other ways to kind of keep my mind's momentum up. So that way when I do feel motivated to actually make music, I can take off on some of those ideas that have developed. So yeah, I would love to hear some of the methods you all use to overcome your writer's block if you have anything, or if any of you use these methods, let me know. I will be back next Saturday with another synth tutorial video. I appreciate you allowing me the time and space to talk about these more creative concepts with you all, and I hope that you find value in them. Definitely let me know if you're interested in more of this type of stuff, because I love talking about it. And if you're enjoying this content, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. I have a lot of information about different synths and synth hardware, but I also kind of like to approach the creative side of things too and talk about that from the context of my music. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. I appreciate you all joining me today, and I hope you have a nice weekend. I will see you in the next one. Peace.